It's all good. Ryan's late too, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Hey, wow, that was some blood. That was some damn good timing.
Right there.
That was really cool. I'm going to do that. Ryan, you should time that out more often when I hit start broadcast to join a call.
I accidentally.
Nope. You purposely did all that. That was on purpose.
Okay, I'm now in some random room in the Union.
You're just in the auditorium on the stage, and no one's going to be there.
I actually tried that. Someone was actually there.
Yeah, the weird theater kid. That was Brian back in the day, Ball State. Don't lie.
Me being the theater? No.
Well, Brian was the guy selling drugs to the theater kids, though.
That's more like it.
Yeah, allegedly. Sorry, allegedly.
Yeah. No, that's just half my business plan.
Oh, fair enough. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the USL show, brought to you by our lovely friends at Roughneck Scarves, the official home for U.S. National team, USL, MLS, and even scarves for your personal or club use, fundraiser type stuff, all that good stuff. Check those guys out, roughneckscarves.com. Would also like to mention that we are brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network of podcasts. Thank you to our overlord, Mike Sparks. Check everybody out on the interwebs, bgn.fm, or you can check them out on Twitter at the BGNFM. Real quick, doing some show pluggy things before we get into intros and things, because this will fit a little bit better here. Firstly, would like to welcome 1868 Weekly, which is a weekly podcast about Reno 1868 FC. It's good stuff. And in case you're wondering, yeah, it has been every week. So go check John and all those guys out. Also would like to welcome and partly announce the Last Line Soccer Podcast, which is a new show hosted by Ryan, you'll enjoy this, former University of North Carolina Wilmington goalkeeper, as well as the 2015 USL Goalkeeper of the Year, as well as the 2015 USL Cup winner, and the former, perhaps, USL record holder for clean sheets with 13 in a season. And I think he still has the record for goals allowed on average for a season with 0.54. And our guest on Wednesday for the next episode of You Play, We Don't, goalkeeper Brandon Miller, currently of the Charlotte Independence. So there you go. That's some really good stuff. He literally put up like 3 episodes in one day. I'm sure he recorded them before that. But yeah, no, it's really cool. I'm really glad that we have another player coming in, just because the perspective for those guys is awesome. So that's some good stuff. Let me introduce people before I get way too far into this. I didn't have them roll for initiative, unfortunately, so I can't go that way. But I will say it's the man that puts the show in show notes. The very dry Ryan Allen.
It's still raining here in Greenville, and I'm just happy the hurricane is over. Aside from one tree through the roof, everything else is good.
Fair enough. Good to hear. Also joining us is the waviest man in the St. Louis metropolitan area, the cream in your Irish coffee, my dear friend Phil Grims. Phil, how's it going?
Very good. I'm excited for. I think it should be a fun show tonight.
It should be a fun show tonight. Phil, what are you talking about? They're always fun. What are you saying? What are you implying, Phil? I don't like it.
You bore me. Weekly.
All right, cool. Get in the back of the line, man. Take a ticket. Also joining us, it's the best parts of Chuck Palahniuk and Elliott Smith combined into one. You might call him Mr. Durden. We call him Big Kevin McCamish.
What's up? How's it going, everybody?
I'm great, man. How are you? I'm very excited for that friendly that's happening in Wednesday on Houston that has no significance on my fandom as a soccer fan.
Okay, there.
Yep. Also joining us, it is the my caffeinated comrade, former Ball State University Crusader, perpetual Colt crier, our dear friend at Soccer with Brian. It's Brian Cook.
That was pretty good. I enjoyed that.
Thank you. I tried to put as many things with the letter C in them, and I also wanted to shout out Ball State University because their attendance numbers need to get up next year. So,
no, well, all the students still get in free for all the sporting events. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, really? That's the only way they can stay a Division I school. But don't tell anybody.
Okay, great. So yeah, we'll just edit that out.
For ECU football.
Yeah, no, you didn't hear that from me. But
no, I didn't hear that from anybody at all.
If you did hear that from somebody else, that would be 100% true.
Actually, if I heard it from anybody. Anyway, guys, big news coming in from the league. They're going to be really mad that I'm going to start saying this, especially before the announcement's happening at 1:00 tomorrow. In 2019, the USL is officially rebranding Celine Dion's residence in Las Vegas, and we're actually coming in as the USL show to start a residence in Las Vegas.
Dude. Did you
So,
you get clearance to say that sort of thing?
yeah, man, we're going big time.
Check
We're
the
gonna play
sources.
in Vegas.
Oh man.
The sources are myself. We're really, we were like, wow, the live stream thing is going really well. Let's just move to Vegas, and Celine Dion was graceful enough. She stepped down. People got tired of hearing the
Now-
Titanic love song.
Speaking on behalf of all the guests that you usually have on to fill in
Yeah.
whenever you guys need somebody,
Yeah.
are you gonna be paying for all of us to fly in for that?
Yeah. No, we got a really good deal with whatever hotel
Okay.
she was in. And really what it's going to be is, the five of us normally, except for Pony, because no one can actually see what he looks like or else the world explodes, are all going to be on the stage. And then whenever someone wants to have a comment, they have to tag out and tag back in. So really, the show will last about 12 hours on average, but I mean that's really good bang for your buck,
Hey,
and
as long
afterwards
as I
there's a
can-
buffet.
As long as I get to fly out to Vegas with it on a plane that has Celine Dion's face on the side of it, I think that's,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's
we
the only
just,
part of my rider that
we're
you really have to agree
repurposing
to.
her tour plane, but we don't have the money for any of the graphic changes, so it's just going to be Celine Dion's face. Great.
Is a tour plan to go up and down the strip of Vegas?
Yes. Yep. And instead of I should have said, instead of normal guests like we usually have on the show, which are people that cover soccer, which is mildly relevant, we're just gonna have Penn and Teller and the Blue Man Group, and I'm sure
Backstreet
Carrot
Boys are
Top is still there.
Sure, there.
Oh, Backstreet Boys, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Brittany's
Anyway,
pretty sure she's there. You name it.
Brittany, yeah.
Tom Jones.
Yeah. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. I'm really excited. No, but allegedly the big news is we have a rebrand of some kind coming tomorrow. Which at the same time, some of the people that are tweeting that also tweeted that Bethlehem Steel wouldn't exist this year, and they're in 5th place in the East right now. So take that how you will. Guys, thoughts on a possible rebrand?
I will say in November 2017, Soccer and Sweetie flagged the news that USL Championship, USL League One, and USL League Two were all trademarked by USL back in November 2017.
Yeah, and that's the rumor that we're gonna roll with, right? We can talk about that rumor.
Yeah, we can talk about that rumor. Why not?
Yeah.
Ryan, I feel like you should start us off, pal.
I think it'll be a really good name. I think a lot of the prevailing kind of thoughts are just people saying USL was a fine name for what it is, but then now that they're going into D3, the branding needed to be reworked, and to do USL Championship, USL League One, and USL League Two, who all kind of fits in line with what the EFL does over in England, and regardless of what people say, becoming more and more like European. This isn't like naming every team United. This is, I think, an actual good move for soccer in the States.
Yeah, buddy.
Here's
That's
a
good.
question. Does it leave it open for USL to sell the naming rights of their leagues? Like you could have the USL Bank of America Championship or the USL's Heineken League One, League Two. I don't know.
You could turn it into a
does.
college football game and have 36,000
Every
bowl games
actually,
every
I like
year.
that. I like that too. I like every USL game in across all 3 divisions is just sponsored. I was almost gonna say that team that I don't want to talk about, and they're not gonna be in the league next year. So who cares? Louisville versus Indy 11, brought to you by Lukoil or something, or what do we got? Bethlehem Steel versus New York Red Bulls 2, brought to you by Little Debbie Snack Cakes. That's a good one.
I would have sponsored that by Monster Energy.
Ooh, yeah.
I like it.
Las Vegas is just open for so many possibilities. Speaking of.
Well, here's some news that goes along with that.
Yeah, man.
Is that the USL did actually say that they are kind of licensing their name for like product, basically.
Football Manager, baby.
Yeah, and when I talked to the VP of USL D3, he used to work for EA, and he said talking to him, and he said, it is a possibility in the future. It's not something they're like actively pushing for right now, but he said it's possible, and that's a step toward it. So
I would start openly weeping if that happened. Like let me
actually
play
really cool.
James Chambers in Ultimate Team, and I'll lose my shit every week.
Same.
All right, great.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll get my thoughts out because we
Please.
all had a very deep conversation in the Slack channel. I don't have a problem with them rebranding the name of the leagues, because obviously at this point you have USL, USL D3, USL PDL, and at this point you actually kind of need a Venn diagram to really explain to a casual fan where each league matches up and everything else. The problem I have is if we're going with this Championship League 1, League 2, name, for lack of a better term at this point, I just have a problem because it kind of touches on two things. A, inherently, I'm like in that mixture where I want the sport in the United States to embrace, obviously, the European roots it has, but I also don't want it to blatantly cater to it. And I feel like embracing the Championship League 1, League 2 names would do that. But I also feel like most people associate most like European, maybe even United States soccer casual fans would associate Championship League 1, League 2 with a pro rel system. And if you're doing that, but not it, and we could spend all night talking about a pro rel system in the United States, but if you're gonna change the league names that are, more commonly associated with pro rel and then not instituting some kind of system, it kind of feels like you're just really shining up a car that doesn't really run that well and it doesn't look that good. But you're like, look, it's new paint.
Right.
So that's kind of where I stand. I'm okay with the rebranding, because I feel like, especially in the Indianapolis market, where there has not been much coverage of the team in local media at all this year, even with them moving to Lucas Oil Stadium and joining a new league. Basically, after they joined the new league, there's not been anybody mentioning them local media-wise. I get it from that standpoint, but I just feel like they're kind of catering to an audience that's going to kind of see through their weak attempts at it. Maybe I'm trying to too much to have a big hot take, but I don't know. It just seems like they're not doing enough.
As we're commenting on the chat, your eyes are really genuine when you speak, Brian. It's really good to watch here on this video. It's nice. But no, I mean, I think you are being genuine. I don't think that's a hot take, but I think it's really easy to hate everything someone brings up. And then try to create something, it's really impossible to kind of beat it. And we were talking about that in the chat today, where if not this, then what? I mean, I think the best argument was just give it a 1, 2, and a 3. I think that would be fine. But my argument against that would be that we're like doing our best to not look like a minor league. You know what I mean? Like, we do not want to be called minor league soccer. We don't want to be compared to that business that goes on in other sports, because it's different in soccer. It's a worldwide thing. We've all got into that. But I understand that we don't want to necessarily just copy and, try to make ourselves look like something that we're not. And so I get that too. But this is just almost like, to me, it just seems like, well, this is just like an automatic common soccer branding that everyone will use. Everyone will recognize. And instead of trying to recreate something that everyone will absolutely hate, like Penn FC or something, let's use something that's just a standard. We're not going to create, stick with the standard system. We're going to use the metric system that everyone else.
We're not going to create a bold name.
Hey,
he did it.
Guys, that was funny, because there's a team in Austin that's going to be called Austin Bold FC. I don't know if you saw it. Real quick on my end, and then if Ryan or Kevin have anything, they can go for it, and then I kind of want to move on, just because we could be here for literally days talking about names and formats and all that stuff. Mark Murray in the chat with a good point, but I think I can maybe reason or rationalize why it might be the case. He says, talking about PDL, it just seems weird to bring them even closer in branding while still keeping it separate. And I agree. On a lot of PDL branded things, they make sure that it says PDL and not USL PDL. In fact, I think for some people, they don't even know that PDL is a USL affiliate. Maybe if you just look at, PDL's website, you're not really aware of it. What I'll say is I think USL is putting themselves in a really good spot to implement that thing that there's a lot of people that are very fervent about doing. But at the same time, I don't think you can put that in anytime before like 3 years from now. Just because you need to make sure that all of your leagues are stable and all of them work and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think this is entirely planning for the future. So
Play the long con.
Yeah, so
then they're going to take away all the leagues, and there's going to be nothing left, and MLS will be the only thing left standing, and you'll really get it then. Haha.
Snap into the slim.
And then we'll all have to be FC Cincinnati
What the Randy Savage? Oh yeah, gonna take away USL entirely. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So when they're planning for the future, I think I personally like it. I don't mind at all if it's going to be called the Championship, League One, League Two. Part of it, building for the future, just kind of like you said, make sure the leagues are stable. Part of it, they're definitely not going to bring Pro Rel anytime soon. I mean, we're probably thinking 4 or 5 seasons in the future at the best case scenario.
Yep.
But this leaves that open. I mean, the USL has not been as anti-Pro Rel as MLS. They've been like, well, if it works out or if we can make it work out. So that as they go through all this stuff, it's always in the back of their mind, are we doing something that allows us to, down the road, institute Pro Rel? And this is something that would allow them to do that down the road. And again, as long as they get everything stable, as long as everything works out, and Ryan had Soccer and Sweet Tea, picked out that these guys trademarked this stuff almost well over a year ago, or almost a year ago.
Almost a year ago.
Yeah, and so it's something that they've had planning for a long time. They
can use it without having to pay for it again.
Probably they could sit on it for longer if they wanted to, I'm sure. But it's just whatever reason they decided to do that now. It's just something to do now, and they've got this plan. I'm sure they've got a plan. I'm sure down the road. Yeah. So I don't know. It works for me. I think a lot of people are going to be vocal, either like, oh, well, why aren't they bringing in Pro Rel, or they're going to be like, I hate it. But I think a majority of people are going to be like, whatever, and going something that is generally accepted around the world in a sports level, it might gain more fans on a casual level, and I think that's what they're aiming for.
You understand what it is right away, right? Like you just get it. Yeah. No one has to be like, well, it's USL and then D3 and it's because Division 3 and that's like lower than, like, I think it takes a lot of explaining the US soccer pyramid if you just keep it D2, D3. Whereas if you go Championship, League 1, League 2, a lot of people, in the world get what that is. Because off the top of my head, 4 or 5 countries, 6 countries, like most of the major European leagues use some form of League 1, League 2.
Yep. England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, Northern Ireland, at least the
Northern Ireland, the hotbed of soccer.
At least the nations that people majority follow, it's undeniable that England is one of the most popular leagues over in Europe. But I would say
what about mainland Europe? You're mentioning everything on the island. What about mainland Europe?
Ryan, I love you so much because you completely went. I was setting someone up to be like Spain and Germany and France and
Spain does La Liga 2, La Liga 3, Italy does Serie A and Serie B.
You're like, let me name every United Kingdom country.
If we're gonna go with If we're gonna go with
Australian A-League.
names, why don't we name all the leagues after Fast and Furious movies?
Yeah, Ryan, you compiled a list. I added a little bit to it, but
Yes.
please, would you like to unveil some of these names,
I just saw this on
which
the
are
notes.
free to the league? I know they have time if they are rebranding and they want to steal some of these. Just let us know ahead of time, and we'll be fine with it. So Ryan, please go on.
You could have the top one be USL, the second one be 2 United 2 Soccer League,
Love it.
USL Tokyo
My
Drift,
favorite.
United and Soccer, United 5, USL 6, Soccer 7, Fate of the United Soccer League. If they wanted to go in a different direction, they could do USL Origins Wolverine.
Mm.
Is that just the Tommy Heineman story?
Yeah. Oh no,
Uh,
Ryan, please say that next one, please.
Tokyo Drift's my
Which-
favorite.
The Captain America naming style.
No, the alternative names. You missed the reference that I don't want to spoil because it's really good.
D2, the mighty USL.
Yeah.
That's my vote. I change everything.
Yeah. Guys, a couple I added. USL 2000, the League of the Future. USL Part 4, the final chapter. USL 3, Dream Warriors. USL U2O. Another one that's just kind of abstract. You Sure, Larry. Usurp Surprise Lemurs. And USL A Soccer Time Odyssey as well.
If the NASL ever gets back started, they could do NASL the winter schedule.
That's really terrible. That's the deepest reference I think we've had on the show.
Oh, it was good.
That was very good. Guys, want to talk some Vegas?
Why not? We always talk Vegas.
It's our favorite thing to do. Chalice literally actually did quit. So credit to him for backing up what he said last week. And
Almost
going
quit.
out there.
Not just figuratively,
And,
he literally quit.
They mutually parted ways.
Yeah, he wasn't just talking. He said
No, he
quit, and
now to be fair, he waited an extra day, but he was in fact,
because I think
not
he,
interested in
he said he was going to quit last Monday, and then we had our show, and then the next day the announcement came out. Right? I think
I
that's
think
how.
so.
You know that the
Really good.
time difference between him saying I'm going to quit and then the announcement is the time it takes a team's media person to write up a story and an announcement. Like that's how
14
long.
hours.
When you're because as someone as a media coordinator of a team, you have
true.
to spin everything in your favor. And something like this is like,
Mm.
okay, how do I make it sound like we mutually parted ways when he literally told the broadcast to f off, to f us off, or whatever he
That's
said.
true. Yeah.
It's like there's gonna be not only do you have to sleep 8 hours, but then you've got to sit there for 6 more hours and go, well, how the hell do I write this out and submit it to the league? Oh my god, my job is so hard.
That's in their USL contract when they sign on to be team coordinators, is they have to sleep for 8 hours.
Nice.
That's really
That
good.
doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it does. Moving on. Chattanooga Red Wolves is the name of the Chattanooga team in D3. I love this ish, and I hope their logo is really fire because I want a scarf.
Could it be a Wolverhampton kind of riff?
I'd be
That'd be
very okay with that actually.
like a red
That's a great logo.
shade of Wolverhampton. That'd be cool.
But like they F it up, and instead of a black animal indicating a wolf, it's like a red one as a fox.
Did I miss it? Was that one of the options you can vote on?
It was, and a lot of people did apparently, or they fixed it so that won. But who knows?
Who knows?
For me, Chattanooga Express would have been my pick, or the Chattanooga. They had the Chattanooga Iron Horses, but I think Tony would have filed for copyright.
I am still extremely pissed off that no soccer team in the state of Tennessee is going to brand themselves just like Penn did and just go 10 soccer club.
Their logo could just be the number 10. Oh my god.
How brilliant! Then your name, your soccer club is your logo is the 10, and your team
And Roman
name is
numeral
10,
X would be really hot.
10
Ooh, that would
SC.
be a good derby too,
That'd be perfect.
between Indy
And then
11
they could be called
and
like
10.
Straight Edge FC or something.
And they have to get a red card every game.
Nah, dude, they're clean. They're better than you.
They
No
just
cards.
10 men. 10 men.
Everyone has to get. Oh, okay. I like it.
All right,
I like
thanks.
it now.
I was worried
I
you
got
didn't.
Oh, you're great. You're great. I'm back. Never mind, Phil. Never mind. Oh man. Hey, games happen this week.
Games usually do.
That's true. That's true. A lot of times. Or else we'd just be talking into the void and no one would care.
Why we're here?
Except when her.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah, it's very true. Speaking of, Nashville 1, Tampa Bay 2.
Tampa Bay won.
Nashville should have tied this.
Oh, Ryan, or was it Pony? Someone said that Tampa can make it, and they kind of explained it. Do you know the business behind that, Ryan?
I know Tampa hasn't been mathematically eliminated. And as of yet, there have only been 2 teams in the Eastern Conference that have been eliminated, Richmond and Toronto, who are technically also being relegated.
It's true.
But yeah, Tampa is still mathematically able. They're sitting in 10th place with 40 points, and they have 4 games left. So at max, they get 52 points, which Charleston's at 50. So it's not out of the question.
Do you have the games that are left in front of you? Because I think they have like pretty good opportunities to win. Who is left?
On the road at Indy, at Atlanta United 2, final home match of the year against Charlotte, and then on the road at Bethlehem to close out the season on the final day. That's at least 6 points I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's not easy, though. That's not all easy.
No.
They would need help, too.
They definitely need help. At minimum, they get 3 points out of Atlanta and then a draw out of Charlotte.
They're not dead, which is crazy. I kind of gave up on them about them.
Yeah, we all wrote them off, right?
Yeah, so that's good for
At some point this year.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they were our consensus pick to be most disappointing side of the season.
I think they still can be if they make the playoffs even.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah. Also, congratulations to Leo Fernandez, got engaged.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good dude. Or a good player.
Yeah.
I don't know him.
And a good dude. Hey, speaking of teams that don't need help, Louisville 3, Penn FC 0. Paolo DiPiccolo, Niall McCabe, and Luke Spencer hits a penalty kick in the 90th. Patrick McMahon gets sent off in the 73rd. And Penn starts that or continues that really long homestand they have with the not unexpected but disappointing loss.
Do you guys notice that like Lancaster and Spencer, like Lancaster will typically score 1, and then Spencer probably scores every other game on top of that, and he subs in for him almost every time. It's so cool. I love it.
It's a good system to have up in Louisville.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like,
they clinch yet? Did they clinch later this week?
Yeah, they've clinched as well. Them and Cincinnati are the only clincher or teams that have clinched in the East, I believe. Cincinnati's actually racked up the number 1 seed.
Yeah. Charleston won, Charlotte won. Nicked minute, Jorge Herrera in the 69th on a penalty kick. Should have been 2-1 or 2-0 in the first half. Ian Van Tessen misses a penalty kick, which for a guy that scored as many goals as he had, that's a shocker. But this is the rescheduled match due to the hurricane. And both teams will split a point. Cool. I'm going to keep working. Tulsa 1, Sacramento 4. Nemanja Vukovic in the 62nd gets the goal for Tulsa. Sacramento score off of Elliot Horde in the 20th. Hayden Partain. I almost called him Hayden Panettiere. Scores twice in the 54th and the 80th, and Cam Iwasa scores in the 68th. Tulsa lead in possession, but that doesn't mean a whole lot when you lose 4-1. Only 5 fouls for Sacramento all night. A really solid win for a team that also clinched off of their second game of this week, right? So, Sac Republic keeping things going. Strong second half of the season for them, right?
Chugging along.
Yeah. Cool. Moving on. Sport Park 2, San Antonio 0. SAFC's having some issues still. Haji Berry in the 51st, Tyler Blackwood in the 75th. So
I think this was Haji's keeping it going. I think it was 8 goals in 8 games, right?
Sounds right, yeah.
I mean, looking on San Antonio, they've now lost 3 in a row after their second match this week. And prior to that, they beat Real Monarchs 2-1 and Phoenix Rising 3-2. And they now currently sit in 9th of the Western Conference, 3 points behind Breno, 6 behind St. Louis.
I mean, San Antonio fans, it was you just feel bad for them. You feel a little crushed because they can show such potential, and then get ruined, let themselves get ruined, and it's hard to watch. And I feel bad for the San Antonio fans because I feel like San Antonio is such a cool club. One of those independent clubs that you feel like they're putting a lot into it. And I don't know. I just feel bad for them, but at this point, they win 4 or 5 and then they lose 3 or 4, and it doesn't really seem to matter who they play, whether they win or loss. It seems in their head, and you almost feel like after this week, and we're going to talk about it more, that perhaps they're done. Perhaps they're not going to make it.
Yeah. Orange County 5, Real Monarchs 2. I would like to say, ever since I mentioned Noah Powder being an ex-Red Bull 2, he scored every week.
No, it was me mentioning that movie. That was what it was.
It's true. It was you mentioning the movie Powder. Yeah. So Aiden Quinn gets 2, 36 and 80th minute goal was a penalty kick. Noah Power scores power. He has a lot of power. Noah Powder in the 37th minute. Christian Duke in the 77th. Thomas Enna-Voldsen in the 88th. Monarchs goals, Kalen Wright in 7th minute, Justin Portillo 63rd. And guys, we did a little digging. Real Monarchs are just a bad second half team.
Yep.
Which is fascinating. Second half of the season. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah.
So we talk about how hot they are at the beginning of the year, and we also talk about getting hot at the right time. This is like the reverse of doing that well, where they start out really good, but they kind of tail off in the second half of the season, which is not normally how you're supposed to do that.
So I obviously don't follow the Western Conference as much as I do the Eastern Conference. How much of this is on the field and how much of this is mental? Because I know a lot of people have been talking on Twitter that it might be more of just how much has gone on off the field that has affected the product on the field.
Well, the way it went down was Matthew Bird had that comment where he said, "It's."
I did ask people for hot takes. That was the hottest.
Yeah, and I mean, he was just throwing a hot take out there, and it kind of blew my mind. I was the one that kind of freaked out the most about it. But it was, I forgot the coach's name, but
Mark Briggs.
Mark Briggs, thank you. So there was the affair within the system, right?
Yep.
That is exactly what happened. And so when that happened, he was kind of told to go on hiatus or something. So he was gone at that point. But the date they started losing was like the date he was officially let go. But there was that hiatus before. So I was freaking out that he was like dead on after we looked at a bunch of the facts.
Yeah.
They've been pretty much losing ever since he left or was let go officially.
So
but he wasn't there either.
Yeah,
So
right.
Got blown up in our faces, but I think it's still a conversation. Like that could be a part of it. Could be making it worse.
And you don't want to put that much importance on, what happened with Briggs. Partly because I'm okay with just letting him live the rest of his life in relative obscurity or whatever. And partly because, it's still the same group of players. It's still the same, talent pool. I think the guy that coaches them now was an assistant there at the beginning of the year anyway. So it's not like it's this radical, scheme change or whatever. A part of me wonders if they, saw how well they were doing the first half of the season, saw what they've done the last couple of years in the playoffs and everything. And, they won the whole cup a year or two ago. And I just wonder if they went, all right, we can just kind of put it in cruise control, and now they see all these teams that are really putting it on, like Phoenix and Orange County, and they're going, no, wait a minute, we might have to try now. So I do wonder. I don't think it's related to the whole Briggs ordeal, and obviously those charges getting dropped and him being dismissed and all that. Intricate stuff, because at the end of the day, those guys are still soccer players, and I think we know that regardless of what's going on outside of soccer field, those players in that team are still going to put in their shift as they normally would for 90 minutes. But yeah, I mean, I think there is something to be said for some of the distractions that have happened around RSL this season.
Here's my take.
Sure.
On the mentality of soccer players. I'm not a soccer player, so I don't want to speak directly to that.
Or a psychologist.
Well, anywho, so mentality in the
Yeah.
game, I don't think. Yes, it can be affected a little tiny bit about outside stuff, but these guys are professionals. I think more what happens when you get into these slides or you get on a winning streak is that you start to believe what you see on the scoreboard. You're like, oh man, we gave up a goals again. The same thing's gonna happen this time. And it's more about not the mentality as a team overall, but the mentality as a team on the field. So you start getting into a losing slide, it's like, well, and then you give up a couple goals, stuff happens on the field, and they just kind of fall apart that way. They don't necessarily, and then of course, you get another loss and another loss, and maybe a draw where you gave up a late goal, another loss, and it just kind of snowballs, and they start thinking, oh man, how do we win? What do we do? And if at that point, if you get to that point, what do we do? How do we win? If you don't have a good leader stepping up or a good coach, then it's very difficult to get out of that slide. So yes, it's a little bit about the outside stuff, what's going on around the team, but I think most of it, as far as mentality goes, it's kind of what's going on in the team and what's going on, how the results are affecting their belief in their ability to, get back at the top. Because this is a team that we were like, they'll be top of the West. And here we are 3-4 games away from the end of the season, and they might slide into a away like an away slot for playoffs.
Yeah, easily.
So with the way they're going, they may just drop to 5th, maybe even 6th. Yeah. And all of a sudden, your first game's not at home as the 1st seed. Your game's on the road as 5th or 6th seed. So it's very interesting how these things can change so quickly and how they can kind of continue to build.
Just to throw out some stats, there in the first half of the season, of the first 17 games, Real Monarchs won 12 of them. And then since the start of the second half of the season, which was July 7th, they've only won 5 and amassed 17 points in that time.
Crazy. Innocuous start to Atlanta United 2 and North Carolina FC. Alessandro Castro scores in the 8th minute for Atlanta after Ulrich Owolo scores in the 3rd minute for North Carolina. Then he scores 3 more and gets 4. He scores in the 3rd minute, the 16th minute, the 33rd minute, and the 89th minute. Kyle Becker adds 1 in the 29th, my favorite Canadian. And Zach Steinberger, Brian, he keeps scoring. 42nd minute. And North Carolina take a 6-1 victory from ATL UTD 2. Great. Moving on.
Oh,
go for it.
Sorry I paused too long there, but
no, you're right.
Atlanta United 2. Yeah. I don't know how Toronto and the Kickers are below them. They just look so bad, and perhaps attacking talent, but I mean, in this game, they were trying to pass it out of the back, and Owolo just kept robbing them of their lunch. I mean, he just kept going down there and taking the ball from them. I think they had their right center back he just kept getting himself stuck in bad situations and couldn't get out of them. It was ugly. So again, it's like every time, maybe it's just the games I watch, but every time I watch it,
I think it is actually
PD2, they look like academy kids trying to play adults, which is kind of
I would be okay with Zach Steinberger coming back whenever. Just you can ship him back, North Carolina.
When he wants to. Zach, if you're out there, man, just come on back.
No, I've tweeted to him multiple times. I'm like, you're not allowed to leave us next year.
Ooh.
Like, you have to come back, and we're putting you under lock and key, no matter how much Rennie wants to play you out of position.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say you're gonna take him back, and then you're gonna misuse him some more.
Center back Zach Steinberger.
Yeah.
I wanna speak to what Phil said. I agree with it's kind of shocking how Atlanta United 2 are better than Richmond and Toronto, because when they lose, they seem to play pretty badly, but they're still not mathematically eliminated, which is
very true,
because they have 6 games left. Yeah. They're going to be playing 2 games a week the next 3 weeks until the season's over.
All of those 6 games are at home too. The most notable ones coming up against Nashville, Louisville, Charleston, and Pittsburgh.
Loss.
But they even have better goal differential than Kickers and Toronto. I mean,
that's fascinating.
They have the worst at -42. -42 goal differential for Richmond.
Oh my God.
ATL UTD2 did beat Toronto in both occurrences that they played. Once was 5-4 back in May, and the other one was more recently 2-1 on August 31st.
Yep.
When they played Richmond on July 21st, they drew 1-1, and they, or at least ATL UT2 has a pedigree of beating at least some teams. Notable, they beat the New York Red Bulls too on the start of the season, and they've beaten Bethlehem before.
They did. That's when they played all their MLS guys.
Penn FC was the only non-MLS 2 team they've beaten.
There's something to that, I think.
Yeah.
I think they like to drop their MLS guys to play MLS 2 sides because they know they're going to get the same treatment.
I like that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah. Speaking of MLS 2 sides and playing children, Bethlehem Steel FC 4, Toronto FC 2-0. Thank you.
I appreciated that. Nobody else is going to acknowledge that, but I appreciated that.
Hey, no problem. Some fun facts here, and I tweeted them at Speak Evan Speak, by the way, in case you're wondering. Bethlehem's average age, which, by the way, if you like replace Aronson or Fontana with like Drew Skundrich or something, it immediately actually goes above Toronto's. But Bethlehem's average age was 21.7. So happy birthday. And then Toronto FC's average age for this one was 23 something. So Bethlehem still go younger than Toronto, and they get a really nice second-minute goal from Ferris. They get a nice 48th minute goal from Michi Galina. James Chambers converts a penalty, and then Chris Nanko's on the field for 25 seconds and decides to score. It's a solid win. It's a win they needed. And they'll get a little bit stiffer competition in Ottawa next week, who don't have 2 of their big players, which was not great for them. But, yeah.
Evan, can you nerd out on Aronson and
oh my God. The only thing, he's so good. So here, I'll explain this.
Talk about their positioning. That's what
I like this a lot. So when he was in the academy, Anthony Fontana, who's the kid they signed before Aronson, he wears number 21, and he actually wears number 21 because he's on a first-team deal. Fontana is an 8 or a 6, depending. Like he likes to be one of their holding midfielders. But when they signed him to the first team, whenever he played in Bethlehem, he was at the 10, which is fine, and he did all right because he has decent footwork, but he's not a 10. And then they went and signed Aronson. Or, Steele played him like 17 times this year, and he's naturally a 10. So what that did was that let Aronson come in and play 10. Fontana dropped back next to Chambers, and this is what happens. Because it takes pressure off of Anthony to learn a new position, and Brendan comes in, and I'm convinced Brendan, James, and Anthony can make pretty much whatever pass you want them to anybody on the field, and it makes me happy.
It's like that classic central midfield of a 6 and 8.
Yeah. And what's really fun is Derek Jones is doing pretty well for the first team, not to get super tangent-y about like we have so many children and this is going to be really fun. But like Derek looks really good too, and he's only played like 3 games this year for the first team. So like it's 3 kids that play midfield triangle perfectly.
It's cool.
Oh, it's going to be fun. Anyway, good win for Bethlehem. They're not out of the woods yet. Brendan Burke thinks they need another win to get into the playoffs, and I'm inclined to agree with them. So between Ottawa, Indy, and Tampa, and I couldn't tell you which 3 of those games I think is going to be the one that decides it, but that away trip in Ottawa would be really nice to get at least a point out of.
Yeah, that's the one you want, right?
I mean, I want all 3 of them. But
that's the one you don't want to win.
No, that's the one you don't want to come away empty-handed with, I don't think. I don't know. Anyway, Charlotte 1, New York Red Bulls 2-1, meaning the Baby Bulls scored once. Greg Jordan gets 1 for Charlotte. Anatola Bong, who's like just randomly shown up the last couple weeks and is scored for New York. Just doesn't do a whole lot of good for either team, unfortunately, but Charlotte looked better.
Hard to talk about Charlotte to me.
It is. Well, just because it's kind of sad. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Oh, Brian, you're here. Do you want me to just kind of skip it, or can we talk about it? Here, I'll just say it. Pittsburgh 3, Indy 11-2.
Yeah. It's a difficult game for me to watch because I'm torn between understanding what tactically Martin Rennie wants to do, because when he got hired, everybody went and did their research and pretty much found out when he was in Vancouver, He really, really likes his 4-3-3, and he really, really likes his central defensive midfielders, which is why Steinberger got shipped over to North Carolina. He was an attacking midfielder who he tried to make a play as a central defending midfielder, and found out when you can score goals, you're not very good at stopping them. So I'm trying to understand. I'm never gonna, be a professional coach of any level.
Yeah.
But as a sports fan in any sport that I'm a fan of, I tend to believe a roster building philosophy of either you build a roster to fit a system, or you build a system to fit the roster you have. And I feel like, and I've given Rennie and this team enough patience, but I feel like one of the big issues that Indy had was, since they had such a short window to build their roster, they just tried to get as many good players as possible, and he's trying to play a system that does not fit the players he has. So this heavy central defensive midfielder dealio he wants to have, where they're listing it every time they post the lineups as a 4-3-3. It's a 4-3-2-1. I feel like it just doesn't provide enough width, which teams tend to attack. I looked at a lot of the stats for this game, and Pittsburgh had a lot of their touches and their possession on the wings. So I feel like that was a key point that they consistently miss. This was also a very weird game because Indy, most of their successful games, they've actually had under 40% possession, and they had over 40% possession. I can't speak. For this game. So it's just, I feel like Indy is at this weird impasse where they're trying to play a system that they don't have the manpower for.
Don't say that central defenders, like defensive midfielders, can't score, because Pittsburgh's Ben Zemanski scored.
Yeah, his first goal for the Riverhounds,
Kevin. So
hey, I'm looking at who scored, and I see three people who used to play for the Timbers: Zemanski, Brett, and McInerney. And I'm like, what was this, like a training field game or something from the Timbers?
I don't know. It's just it's frustrating, and it's been. I don't know if I would be as frustrated if I didn't see Zach Steinberger get shipped over to North Carolina and score 2 to 3 times the amount of goals he has all year, when he's been able to actually play in a role that he is naturally more inclined. I remember when Steinberger got loaned in from the Houston Dynamo, when he originally got loaned into Indy, when Indy was still in the NASL, and I saw him and I thought he was a very raw attacking midfielder, and he has gotten tremendously better. And I feel like if he had, especially the Penn FC game where they pulled Mayers onto the bench, you slot Steinberger right in there and he plays the same role. So it's just, it's very confusing to me. And I don't know if it would be as confusing if Steinberger was still on the team, but it's very confusing to me when you have a player that's scoring goals and you're failing to beat teams and not score as many goals.
Yep. It's a hard thing to watch.
Yeah.
Which is especially compounded by, and I really don't think this happens a whole lot, that your team's struggling to score. You loan a guy on your team to a conference rival, and then he goes off. Like, it would be one thing if you loan Steinberger out and he's scoring goals in MLS or whatever, but he's like, a couple hours away. They're just bagging him.
I said this on Twitter, and it might be like the pessimistic aspect of what I'm feeling right now, but I'm looking at these last 4 games and I'm trying to write something for at BGN Written, hashtag self-promotion.
Check those guys out, uslnews.com.
But I'm trying to write something right now where I kind of break down the last 4 games of what I realistically see as points that Indy can get. And it might be the pessimistic side of me, but part of me, just seeing how many teams are surging underneath them, part of me wouldn't really be shocked because if they lose the remaining games. You got Tampa that's, playing competent again.
Mhm.
You got Louisville at the end of the year. You got
Yep.
FC Cincinnati, which will surely be a loss.
Mhm.
And you got the Steel, which should be a competitive game, and they've played
Yeah.
competitive with them all year round.
Yeah,
But
that's
that's-
going to be a fun one.
that's easily a game that they could end up struggling
Mhm.
with. So it's just they're as the teams below them are surging up. Indy seems to be coming down at the exact wrong time that you need to be coming down.
Yeah.
There's my high horse. I'll get off it now.
There you go. Thanks, Brian. Moving on, FC Cincinnati did something that we have not seen before, and that I don't think we'll see again. Just wait for them to type in the joke and send it to us here. Okay. They wrapped up the Eastern Conference, and they wrapped up the USL regular season title. A little bit odd of a result, only because they were down for half an hour plus. And then Emmanuel Ledesma apparently has heard me saying, well, you know, if he scored more, maybe I'd vote for him as MVP, and said, I got a goal. And then Corbin Bone continues to be incredibly hot as far as goal scoring goes. And FC Cincinnati take the 3 points, take the first place in the Eastern Conference, and take the USL Shield, which is real.
Yeah, they do give that away.
They do have a shield.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they'll if they make it to the final, they will have they'll have home field.
There we go.
It's not in the clear yet. If Cincinnati loses their remaining games and Orange County win out, they can still tie Cincinnati for, or basically points at 69 and have the same number of wins.
Nice.
Heyo.
So then it's goal differential.
Something to hope for.
And
So
goal
it's probably
differential-
Which Orange County's only behind by 2. So obviously Cincinnati will probably get at least one more win in their final 4 games, because the next game is coming up against Richmond. They're not going to lose that one.
No.
But the title has not been clinched as of yet.
Yeah, Orange County's got a goal differential of 29 to Cincinnati's goal differential of 32. So they're close.
Yeah, I mean, at the point,
Not as bad as I thought.
I mean, it's going to happen. We're just currently delaying the inevitable.
Fair enough. We like doing that here. Hey, speaking of delaying the inevitable, have you waited too long to buy cleats for your indoor league, or maybe your outdoor league, or have you maybe procrastinated on buying that Lucas Torreira Arsenal kit? Don't worry about it. Our friends at Soccer Loco can hook you up. I'm gonna break from the ad read for a second and just say that was the best ad read I've ever done.
That was good. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Would listen
Okay,
again.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to our website, uslshow.com. You're going to click on the blue box. It's great if you're colorblind. It says Soccer Loco. And you're going to go there, and you are going to buy whatever you need that's soccer related. Don't go looking for hoagies or, I don't know, a vacuum cleaner. Unless I'm in for a huge surprise somehow. And buy whatever you need for soccer, and our dear friends over at Soccer Loco will get it to you. So there you go. Anyway, speaking of not losing to Richmond, Tampa Bay didn't do it. Hunter Gorski scores the goal in the 40th, in the 57th, and Junior Fleming's in the 90th. Yeah, expected result,
Yep.
and they got it, which hasn't been the case for Tampa Bay until recently, but they figured it out. Go listen to Unused Subs for that one. There you go. Bang. There's your plug.
That's my usual go-to for staying up to date with Tampa.
Yeah.
If you
Or if
think
you just-
about it, oh, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, even if you just want to listen to a better podcast, go find Dan and Matt.
They have the those cool Dan happenings all the time.
They do. Poor guy.
Dan's self-deprecation is probably the funniest of ever.
It's my favorite.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. Yeah. He also vaguely looks like Jack Antonoff, if anyone's wondering. Yeah.
But what I was gonna say though is, if you think about it, you know, Tampa Bay kind of got the Rowdies kind of got a new roster about halfway through the season.
Yeah.
So
They
this
just
is
kept
kind of
adding
like-
players.
yeah. So like lost some major ones, and now
Added a coach.
this is kind of like,
fun.
if they started over then, this is kind of like their mid-season form point. So maybe they're just now figuring it out, and it's starting to click, and maybe it's good from now on. For the
That'd be
rest.
amazing.
It would
It'd
be
be weird.
It'd be weird. Like, what if
They're actually just figuring out how to understand their coaching staff, who are basically all Irish. Speaking of expected wins, I'm sure a lot of people that were watching this next match nervously, waiting to see what the table would look like, were a little worried after 45 minutes or getting in the stoppage time when Ottawa held Louisville scoreless, and then George Davis IV and Cam Lancaster decided, no, we're all right, and scored 2 in stoppage time of the first half, which was followed by Alex Sawahi and Cam Lancaster getting a second. Didn't help Ottawa. They ended with 9 men. Nana Atakora gets a red in the 39th. Kevin Oliveira in the 58th. Those are 2 guys you don't want out if you're Ottawa. Those are 2 very good players for them that they will not have for their next match at home against Bethlehem, which might be a problem. Yeah. I mean, not that we were worried about Louisville losing this game, but they got some help and they won.
Good for Bethlehem. Those are 2.
Phil, you ready to say something?
Yeah, like good for Bethlehem. Those are, like you said, those are 2 major players. You guys are going to be in good shape.
I lost you there, friend. I'm sorry.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
Let's just move on to that Colorado one.
Moving on. Colorado Springs 1, Phoenix 2. Good result for Rising away, especially. Joe Farrell and Kevon. Sorry. Lambert, 22nd, 43rd minute for Rising. Saeed Robinson in the 66th. Thank you. For Colorado, good win for Phoenix. They get some points.
Spell your name right.
Yeah. Oh, come on. What if he's like,
Hey,
hold on.
Avon sounds more fancy anyway.
You sound more fancy.
Thank you.
Hey. The fanciest of American accents. Indianapolis. Also, he's from Jamaica, so it is probably Kevon. Anyway.
Also, for
yeah.
the first time in 3 seasons, this will be the first year that the USL Western Conference champion did not lose to Colorado Springs over the course of the regular season.
Oh, that's interesting.
Why do you find those? Like,
So you're
Blow my
saying
mind.
that the teams that could potentially clinch the Western Conference title are teams that have not lost to Colorado?
I was saying over the past 3 seasons of USL Western Conference,
I was mad about
the
it.
team that got the number 1 seed, the team that won the Western Conference that year, lost to Colorado Springs.
Oh.
So you're saying OC hasn't lost to them, and then Phoenix Rising didn't lose to them.
Yeah, and neither team play or has Colorado Springs left on their schedule.
Aha, got it.
Okay.
A little clarification was nice.
What
And-
if Real Monarchs all of a sudden wins out and somehow never mind.
They do play Colorado Springs next, but I am not betting on them to win out and take the number 1 seed back. And Evan, to answer your question on how I found a spurious correlation connecting the quality of DCEU movies to Colorado Rapids points total. So
Stay in school, kids.
Hashtag-
Lots of free time.
Hashtag Cavill out.
Drop the 7, carry the 4.
Not my Superman. Tulsa 1, Swope Park 1. In we're just gonna go. Joaquin Rivas in the 68th for Tulsa. 44th minute. Haji Berry scores again for Swope Park. Yeah. Swope Park aren't gonna be happy with the draw, but it is what it is.
No, they should not be happy with that.
Speaking of teams not being happy, well, Phil, you'll be happy. San Antonio, not so much. But 2 goals. For you guys late on, Lewis Hilton gets one in the 79th, Albert Davis in the 90th. How you feeling, bud?
That game gave me so much confidence. It made me that's the happiest I've ever been as a St. Louis fan, was that night.
Wow.
I mean, by far, not even close. It was a great night. I actually had really good attendance. I'm surprised it's not over 5,000. It felt big. It felt electric. And the good thing about the night was, how many times have I talked about St. Louis FC, like controlling the game, feeling like they're going to get a goal and they're going to win. They don't get the goal, they give one up late, and lose or draw. That keeps happening to them. And I was getting that feeling until that 79th minute when, it wasn't just some scrappy goal. It was good play in the box, for goodness sake. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that game that night. And I think St. Louis, if they keep this streak going, They've beaten some very quality teams this year. They
Mhm.
have more of a chance than I think people realize. But again, no matter what, the improvement from last year is
Yeah.
good enough to make me a happy St. Louis fan. So
Couple games we're just gonna run down the score on right quick. RGV 3, Seattle 2 nil. Sorry. So Rio Grande Valley 3, S2 nil. Nashville 1, Charleston 1, Reno 3, Vegas 3. And Kev, we'll let you talk about the Timbers in Portland. Or
Fresno.
yeah, that one. You guys played a team in California.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we play a lot of teams in California.
That's fair.
At the end of the season.
Yeah.
No.
Former Premier League winner Jack Barmby with a penalty kick goal in the 8th minute. Yeah.
You got it.
Gotcha.
And he helped you guys clinch a playoff spot. Oh my God, you're gonna win the whole thing.
No, we're not. But hey,
Sorry.
Portland are in the playoffs for the first time ever, and I actually didn't realize once we got the draw, like because we gave up the goal literally on the last kick of the game with like 3 seconds left in stoppage time. Which that part is disappointing, but I think overall, like a draw on the road, totally acceptable. A draw on the road that gets you in the playoffs for the first time, completely acceptable. So Fresno, they're eliminated, so they can hang their hat on whatever they want to saying, hey, we got ourselves a last minute goal and saved a point. Great, but they still gave up 2 penalty kicks within 3 minutes of each other in the first half, and Portland almost made that last for all 3 points. I wasn't expecting them to get all 3 points. I was expecting them to get a draw, particularly in the second half, watching Fresno put on the pressure. I think I tweeted out, like, I literally do not like seeing Portland teams defend. They just can't. They cannot defend. Any Portland team just has a really bad time defending a lead. So I was like, please attack, please attack. Oh, you're not going to attack? All right, well, here we go. Draw it is.
Is this where I mentioned the Thorns or no?
You can, but
All right.
doesn't matter.
They didn't do a great job at defending.
No. Yeah, they lost the championship, but let's move on
Yeah.
from that.
Fair enough.
I-
That was your women's soccer 30 seconds.
I know. When of all 3 teams in Portland, the
Yeah.
best result of the entire day is a 2-2 draw on the road by the second team, you can kind of see how the weekend went. But
That's not great. Yeah.
bright side, Portland are in the playoffs. Yay!
Last game of the week I want to talk about. LA Galaxy 2-6, Real Monarchs 1. Guys, Efren Alvarez for sure is the USL Rookie of the Year. And I don't want to hear anybody's retort to that because there isn't one. He scores thrice again. Ethan Zubak is one in the 18th minute, Adrian Vera in the 38th, Frank Lopez in the 86th. And Monarchs get one off of Chandler Hoffman. But Monarchs losing 6-1 to LA Galaxy 2 is not good. It's actually bad.
Monarchs gave up 11 goals this week.
They're
Yikes.
on fire.
You know what's weird about the Monarchs losing though
Yeah,
is that
what's
they
up?
still get like really good opportunities. Like they can still set up the goals, and Hoffman's just kind of been missing a little more than usual lately.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if his brain's in Birmingham right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say he might be thinking about next year a little bit, which is fine.
I was
Yeah,
saying the same
kinda.
thing.
it can happen, but you know, I think that's part of it. But they still don't look bad. They still look like a super dangerous team. You know, when St. Louis drew them a few weeks ago or a week or two ago, they were super dangerous. And that was the thing I forgot to. I had all these things prepared last time. Is I can't remember who called the game. It was probably Mike Walks because
Probably Mike Watts.
because they kept talking about how they get down the field and then they cut it back to the late runner. And
Yeah.
that guy, they called it early in the game and they did it 5 times or more. And the dude was open every time. I mean, it was incredible. They could be scoring more.
It's like it's a numbers game, you know.
yeah. Seems like
Don't know if we mentioned it. OKC nil, Sacramento nil.
real
real
quick. Sorry.
Yeah, what's up?
About that LA Galaxy game because
Yeah,
the
man.
about it was Efren Alvarez played up top with
Yeah.
Zubak. So they played a 4-4-2 instead of a 4-2-3-1 with the two of those two guys working together. And you could tell it was a fresh thing because they were really talking a lot about what they would do in the first half. And obviously it paid off and they did really well. But Efren Alvarez as a striking partner with Zubak, I mean, those two attacking together would pretty dangerous.
It's fun.
And I'm sure part of the loss too was that no one has seen them do that before, and it worked so well that they didn't have tape on that. So
yeah,
another thing to watch where Alvarez lines up. Sorry.
All good. Before we get out of here, running over the teams that have clinched and teams that have been eliminated. Teams that have clinched playoff spots in the East. Cincinnati is your number 1 seed. Louisville City is also clinched in some capacity. Teams that are eliminated and Toronto FC 2, like we said, no surprises, I think, in either end there for the Eastern Conference. Western Conference teams that are already in, here we go. Orange County, Phoenix, Real Monarchs, Timbers 2, Sac Republic. Also, do we think Real Monarchs are sliding a little bit because they're clinched now?
They could definitely be taking a break, just knowing that they already have a spot. They have at least a 35th game to play.
I don't think so.
No, right, fair enough.
I mean, obviously, I don't follow the Western Conference, but I feel like you kind of do yourself an injustice if you're really pumping the brakes even after you've clinched.
Yeah.
I don't think their slide has anything to do with the fact they've clinched. They only did it this weekend, and they've been sliding since July.
That's fair.
Let's just
We're
clarify.
like, no, we'll be fine.
They also fell last year too. If you remember, they were
Yes,
on
they
that
did.
crazy run, and then they started losing, and then dropped out of the playoffs. So, man, it could happen. It could be the same deal.
If you're listening, Western Conference front offices, there you go. Now you're on to them. Teams that are knocked out in the Western Conference, there is more of them. Hang tight. Seattle Sounders 2, Tulsa Roughnecks, Las Vegas Lights, Rio Grande Valley. What? Wow. Rio Grande Valley FC, Colorado Springs, Fresno, Los Dos. That's it. That's 7.
Clearly, we found out the Eastern Conference is where all the chaos is.
Yeah, we've known that, though.
Yeah, everything's pretty much wrapped up in the West. You've got
It's kinda
3
nice.
spots. Yeah, 3 spots left. 5 teams in the running.
As opposed to the East where you have...
Do you guys remember the picks that we did where we picked a team and we get
I
points
don't
and
want to because I looked at it recently.
I
I'm looking at
remember
it. I'm looking at it now.
I think mine are good.
Phil is good. Phil has currently
Phil's-
4 of his 6 picks in the playoffs.
Yeah.
In a playoff spot.
I know I picked Phoenix from the start.
Ryan's
We'll
got
We'll circulate that out again.
I was gonna say, was that the draft show? Because
Yeah,
I
that was the
vaguely
draft show.
remember. I vaguely remember listening to that while shopping on a Sunday in Walmart and having a very poetic speech by Evan about how great TFC 2 would be.
Brian, Brian, why are you doing this?
I don't know.
Brian,
Also, I was trying to convince people that I was not picking T2 as a homer pick, that they would actually make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They made the playoffs.
there you go. Notes for next year, everybody.
Next year they won't make the playoffs.
Hey,
the only
Brian.
time they're in tires.
Plug yourself.
You can check me out on Twitter at Soccer with Brian, and then check out Twitter at PGN Written, and then also USLnews.com.
There you go. Ryan, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at ILM_Ryan, and writing with Soccer and Sweet Tea and Indomitable City Soccer alongside at Iron Pony Chef for Pony.
I enjoyed that you plug him when he's not here, but he never reciprocated that favor. I think you should talk about that to him with him. Kev, where can people find you on the internets?
At Kamikamish PDX and at PTK Podcast.
There you go.
That's it.
Wavy, where you at, bruh?
Phil Grooms, 2 L's, 2 O's on
Yeah,
Twitter.
Yep.
STL Soccer Report on Twitter.
Beauty. You can follow this show as a whole and our wonderful cast of friends and characters at the USL Show on Twitter. Really easy. We go live every Monday night. If you want to have your input live on the show and have us talk to you in a very disconnected way, youtube.com/the USL Show. That's where you can find all of our shows and things like that. We tweet out the link a couple minutes early. No guarantees that we start on time. It's usually a couple minutes late just because people join in calls and all that fun stuff. Also, if you're wondering, this week's episode reference is the Dave Matthews Band album, which is a very good one. You can also find us uslshow.com. That's a good spot. You can find our Patreon there, patreon.com/the USL show. For me, if you, for whatever reason, want to see more of me, interact with me, my DMs are open. Feel free and speak. Yeah, it's the best Twitter handle in the league, but not everyone's going to win, right? So yeah, that'll do it for us. Thanks so much for listening. Regardless of how you listen, whether that be iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, if you just download it off of the website, that's really cool. But yeah, we appreciate you guys listening to us. And remember that one rule, just don't be a dick. Take care, everybody.